Okay, good morning, everybody. We're going to talk about Zipforms today. So the previous classes, we talked about marketing, real estate marketing 101, social media marketing, and that's designed to help you generate leads. Then we learned about how to navigate the MLS. So now your leads have called you up and said, hey, I want you to help me look for property. Now you know how to find the properties, right? Set them up on automatic emails or just do searches for them and email them whatever the results are. And then now that you found a property, the next class was working with the buyer in the purchase process. What do you do once you have the buyer and you find a property, show them properties, how to show them, how to submit the offer, what the transaction looks like, 30-day escrow based on the default language on the contract. And this class is to teach you how to use Zipforms, how to create a transaction, how to find the forms in the form libraries, how to send them out for digital signatures. So the first thing you're gonna do is go to car.org. And if you have not registered for it, you're new, like brand new, you want to register for it. So the first thing you would do, if you're brand new, is click on sign in, top right corner, and then click register. That's how you would register. But I'm assuming everybody's already done that. So from the home page, we're just going to click here where it says Access Realtor Secure Transaction. Scroll down a little bit and click on Access Now under Transactions. Morning. And when you click on Access Now, it's going to ask you to log in. So you should have already created your login. And once you log in, another window will pop up and you're going to hit the mustard color button. I don't want to see yellow or orange, but then it takes you to Zipforms.
The one that says continue to transactions.
Yes. And when you first log in, you're not going to have any transactions in here. You're going to see a screen that looks similar to this. And when you first log in, the first thing that I want you guys to do is go up to the right-hand corner where it's going to have a circle. See where my picture is? Click on that, then click on Profile Settings. And make sure that your DRE license number shows up in there because by default, it doesn't show up in there. And then make sure that it's the correct email address and the correct phone number. And once you corrected that or add that, click on Save. And then the next thing you want to check is Offices. Make sure it has the correct office information. Click on Settings. And then make sure that AuthentiSign is selected as the default e-sign option. And it used to have a setting to check Pacific time for time zone, but I guess it doesn't have it anymore. So I guess we don't have to do that. All right. Now that you've made those changes and you hit save, we're going to go back to transactions up at the top. So this is what it's going to look like when you first log in. And to create a transaction, let's start off with creating a listing. You have a listing, right? You have a listing appointment. You need to write up a listing contract. You're going to click on New Listing. And for the listing, the name on it is just to label it, right? It's just for you to be able to find it amongst. You can name it by the owner's name or by the property address. For a listing, I would type in the property address, which is Main Street. You don't have to do anything here right now. I like to leave that blank for now. And then I'll select residential. You can fill it out if you want. I just don't do it right now. And after you click residential, go down to the bottom. Let me hide this bar down here. I don't know what it's. You click save. Now it's going to take you into the transaction. So what I first like to do is I like to go to parties. And it shows me as a listing agent because this is a listing, right? I like to go into my own, I guess, user settings here, make sure that my MLS, my DRE number's in there, the company's DRE license number's in there, so 01516164. So I would write that down, guys. That's an important number.
What did you hit to?
This is the company's DRE license number.
What did you hit to actually go to that? Was it on?
Let me, hold on a second. Give me a second, because I gotta zoom out.
So
I clicked on my name.
Oh, okay. That's what you. Oh, yeah, that works.
And so this is your information, your contact information, your DRA license number, the brokerage name, DRA license number, contact. You don't have to have the contact information. Actually, you do, because it's going to show up on the contracts. So after this is complete, you're going to click save. You don't have to fill the rest of it out. Click save. And now, since I'm going to represent the seller, I'm going to click on seller one. And my seller's name is, let's say Sandy Jones. I don't know. And I'm going to type in her email address, sandy@gmail.com. And for now, this is all I need for Sandy. And I'm going to click save. And if there's a seller number two, maybe it's a husband and wife, then I'm going to click on seller number two and add the husband's name. This is where it's important to find out, because you pulled up the property profile. If there's two people on title, if there's just one person on title, or if it's a trust. And if it's a trust, I don't want to confuse you guys now. There's another way of filling this out. When you get to that, I'll show you what to do. But for right now, just focus on setting up Sandy Jones as an individual buyer, right? And not as an entity. And so she's the only seller, the only owner of the property. Now that my parties are set up, this is going to make it easier for me for when I'm ready to send the forms out for digital signatures. I don't have to add the email address later on. It's all done now. Next, I'm going to go to documents. And with documents, we used to teach this to add the cover page, the cover sheet to it. You can do that if you want to or not. The advantage of using the cover sheet is you can fill out the property information and any other information about, I guess, it's going to ask for the parcel number, the property address, maybe the listing, the listed price. We already have the seller's information in there, so you don't have to do anything there. Let's say we want to checkbox next to where Sandy's going to sign. Listing date. You can use this if you want to. I'm not going to use it, but I want to show it to you guys and let you know it's available. And let me actually go back here. I'm going to go back to all forms. We're still in the document section here, as you can see it up in the middle. And the main forms that you're going to use for a listing or for a purchase are the listing agreement or the purchase agreement, right? So it shows it, I guess, right at the top, the residential listing agreement is right up here. If you're representing the buyer, the purchase agreement is right up on top there. Every other form you have to search for. So in this case, we're going to click on residential listing agreement. And as you can see, since I'm here, let me bring this up. This form library is the car form library. This is where you're going to find the majority of the forms. And then there's other form libraries. The ones that we're going to use specifically are the CRMLS form library, which is right here. And they just have one form. And the EPUB library. And this has a few forms that you might need for the transaction. For now, we're going to go to the car library, and this is where everything's at, mostly everything's at. Now I click away from that and then click on residential listing agreement. And this is where you're going to fill out the form. So we're going to scroll down on the first form here, which is the agency disclosure. And Sandy Jones is the seller. So I'm going to check mark seller. As you can see, it populated the brokerage name, DRE license number, my name, my DRE license number. And then we're going to keep scrolling down. And we're at the offer. We're not going to go over the purchase contract today, but just want to cover a couple of things here. So date prepared is a reference date. It's a reference date only. It has nothing to do with the beginning or ending date of the contract. The beginning date is going to be either, right here. It's gonna be this date or the date signed at the end of the contract. The later of the two is the beginning date. Example. Right now, it says beginning date is 9/12, which is today. But they don't sign until September 21st. That means September 21st is the beginning listing date. Or, let's say I want to post date this to say the beginning date is gonna be October 30th. But they sign it today. So the later of the two is September 30th, and that's gonna be the beginning date. All right, so anyway, just want to show you guys, this is where you're gonna fill it out. We have a different purchase contract class. Richard does that one. So I'll see if you can do it next week. Anyway, this is how you add forms to it. And while you're here, maybe you want to add, I don't know, the coming soon form or something. So we can go straight here and click on add. Form libraries. And I know that that's gonna be in the MLS, right? Is it a car form?
Coming soon?
Yeah, or is it a MLS?
I don't know if it's that couple.
It's the MLS form, Sierra MLS. This is it right here. So I found this under the Sierra MLS form library and I added it. I'm gonna get closed. And as you can see, it's up here. Anything that we have in the bottom section of this or any other forms we have saved in our transaction. But what shows on the top half of this is what we're currently working on. It's gonna show up on the left panel here. So this is the so the listing agreement. And then down here is the coming soon form. So that's how you can add or remove forms. So I don't want to work on this right now. We're not going to add it after all. So I just click X and it moves it back down to the bottom section. And let's say this is all I'm doing now and I leave it alone. I save it. I go back to Zipforms. That was the form editor portion of Zipforms. Now we're going back to the Zipforms document section. And let's say now that I had, we'll go through the e-signature a little bit later, but let's say we already have the listing contract signed. I want to add other disclosures, start disclosures. I'm going to go through and I'm going to say, I'm looking for the TDS. I'm going to add that to it. I want the SPQ, and you guys will get to know the acronyms for them later. If you don't know what it is, the acronyms are for it. You can just type one of the words within the form and it'll come up. So like the affidavit of non-foreign status, subs affidavit of non-foreign status right there. Click on that. You're going to select the the WCMD, water conservation plant fixtures. We're going to do the, we don't need the water heater because that's included in the TDS. We're going to do market conditions advisory. You're going to have a checklist of forms that you're going to need for the transaction. So what we always recommend is that you have the seller sign these up front. So that when you go on the market and let's say you get an offer right away. And they want to close in 10 days, 15 days. You already have these seller disclosures ready. So you don't have to reach out to your seller and say, hey, we need you to sign this, and the seller's like out of town, or they don't have time, or they're in the hospital, whatever the case might be. You have these already signed. So as soon as you receive that offer, and it's a 10-day escrow, it was accepted, you send those off to the buyer's agent and have the buyer review them, sign them, send it back to you. Because if you don't have these signed, let's say the contingency period for a transaction, for an example transaction, say 14 days. They narrowed it down or dropped it down from 17 days to 14 days. And you don't have these signed. By the time you get them signed, it's day 10. Let's say day 12. It still gives the buyer 5 days to review these forms. So even though they said they're going to remove contingencies on day 14, they have 5 days after the 12th to remove contingencies. So it extends it. So you're protecting your seller by having these filled out and signed right away. Okay, any questions on that? All right, let's go to the e-sign portion of this. So I have my listing agreement already filled out, ready to go. I don't think it's gonna let me sign it without having an address, so do I have an address in it? I don't think I do. So. Street. Number. So pretend it's all filled out, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to sign it. I'm gonna click on save before I lose anything. Always click save, because you're gonna go through this whole contract and then get a phone call and then it's gonna time out and it didn't say what you did. Or you're gonna get up, go to the bathroom and then to the kitchen if you're home or whatever it is, make sure you hit save every couple minutes. Then you're gonna click on prepare signing up on the top right hand corner. And just click on create. So this looks similar to the form editor, right? I guess it's part of the same program. The first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna select the participants or add participants to it. What are participants? Signers. So we already have participants, we already have parties to the transaction, right? We're gonna click on add participants from the transaction. And then there's the two parties, right? The seller and myself. So we're gonna select both of them. Click select. And right now, the way this is set up, it's gonna go to both parties at the same time to sign. If you want the signage to sign in a particular order, you're gonna turn this little switch on and you're gonna move, let's say I want Sandy to sign first. So after she signs, she'll get an email saying you completed everything, blah, blah, blah. And then it'll send me an email saying, Sandy's already signed, that's your turn to sign. And as an agent, you're gonna receive an email after all the signatures are complete. All right, so let me close this out of the way here. And once you add the signers, start scrolling down, you're gonna see that the system automatically added signature boxes for each signer. And they're color coded too. So I know that every blue box is gonna be Sandy and every yellow box is gonna be me. But before you hit send on this or next, go through every single page to make sure that there's a signature box or initial box where it's required, because I know there's a couple of forms, I know one in particular, TDS, where the system doesn't automatically add a signature box. So you have to add it manually, and I'll show you how to do that. But for right now, we're gonna go through to make sure that there's a signature box where one is required. So we're gonna go through. So here, initial page, initial on the first page, initial, so it says seller initials. We're gonna keep going here. Initials, 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 and then signature. Keep going here. Signature, signature. Well, let's say here. It forgot to add. The system forgot to add a signer here. Okay, so there's a box missing. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go over to tools on the right hand side. We're gonna select who the signer, whoever box we're gonna add here. So it's Sandy Jones's signature box that's missing. We're gonna click on sign here and drag it over. So you're gonna click and hold it down and then drag that box over. Now, you can either leave the date here, doesn't matter. Some people like to move it over because they're like really OCD. But it doesn't matter as long as the date's there. And you can move this wherever you want. Sometimes when there's multiple signers, you don't want the boxes like right above each other. Anyway, so yeah, go through every page, make sure that there's a signature box where it's required. All right, so now that we went through, make sure that there's a signature box everywhere that is required, we're gonna click on next. And then click send. So it tells you here that the expiration of, I guess these forms, the form request is gonna expire on October 12th. So they have until October 12th to sign these documents. I mean, you don't have to change it. You can if you want to. You can set a reminder. remind them every 2 days. It's just in case they don't. I'm gonna hit cancel here. Let's see. Any questions on this?
You have to actually be, you have to have an account with DocuSign to do this, because I'm trying.
It's not DocuSign, it's Authentisign.
That's probably what happened.
Do you remember when we first went to the setup and I said, use Authentisign?
I must have missed that.
Okay.
That's my problem when I'm
Okay.
looking on the computer. at the same
Okay, all
time.
right, all right. Okay. So, I'll show you how to do that. Let me go back here. Don't save it, I don't want to save that. On the top right-hand corner where the circle is, where my picture is here.
Yep.
Click there, click on profile settings. And then click on settings in this gray bar. And then select Authentisign and save. So now, let's say we're working with a buyer. We're gonna create a new transaction. Actually, hold on, let me open this up here. This is gonna show you all the different transactions you have right now. I'm gonna click on new purchase or offer. And if it's a lease or a lease listing, there's options for that as well. And with the buyer, since I don't have any property in particular that we're making an offer on, my buyer, his name is Nate. Or Nate, I don't know. What's the last name? Miller. Nate Miller. And it's a residential property. And I'm not gonna enter an address, I'm gonna leave it alone. And then I'm gonna click on save. And same thing, I'm gonna go to parties, I'm gonna add Nate's name into it, buyer one. Now we're working with the buyer, so Nate Miller. MillerTime@gmail.com. Name and email address. Again, I'm gonna click on my name to make sure that the office DRA license number is in there because it doesn't always show up, I don't know why. This out of the way. Click save. And then I'm gonna click on documents. All forms. Make sure that it says California Association of Realtors Form Library. And I'm gonna select California Residential Purchase Agreement. Click away from it and then click on the form. And again, agency disclosure. But this time you're gonna select that you're working with the buyer. And again, it auto-populated the brokerage, the DRA license number for the brokerage, my name and my DRA license number. And this is the purchase contract. So then you start filling it out, right? Again, date prepared here is a reference date as well in case there's a counteroffer. When they send you a counteroffer, it's a counteroffer to the purchase contract dated September 12th. And let's see. For now, this is all we're gonna do on this. Actually, let's add a property address so we can send out for digital for signatures as well. 123 Main Street is very popular here, so. Don't forget the parcel number. Let me save this for now and then send it out for signature. So prepare signing. And then I usually just hit create, but this signing name tells you, once it's signed, it tells you what document that is that was signed. So after something's been signed, I'll show you where it ends up. It sends a copy of the signed document PDF back to Zipforms, but it also sends you an email that you can download the form on. So I'm fine with the way it's named here. I could rename it RPA, just to make it easier. I know this is the RPA I sent out. Or you can leave it as is, that's fine. Create. And again, we're gonna add participants, add signers, add parties, it's all the same thing. Add participants from the transaction because I've already added them under parties. And I'm gonna select both of us, the buyer and myself. And I want the buyer to sign first, so I'm gonna move the buyer up. And then again, we're gonna go through to make sure that there's a signature box wherever it's necessary, right? So like right there. Go through every single page before you send it. Initials, 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 going. This is important too. I don't know, before, sometimes it wouldn't put the initials in here, but now it's doing it. So make sure that you look through every single page to make sure that all the initials and signature boxes are in there. Buyer signature. Agent signature, maybe I want to move this down a little bit just to line it up. Once you've gone through it all, click next. And then send. Any questions on it? No? Okay, so now we're gonna bring in a foreign document, a PDF. So when you're setting up the forms here and filling them out in Zipforms from the form libraries, and you send them out for signatures, it automatically adds signature boxes where necessary when you send them out for digital signatures. When you bring in a PDF, example, you're the listing agent. A buyer's agent sends you an offer. And now you have to send it to your client to sign it or accept it or counter it. You're uploading a PDF. So the system doesn't know this is where I'm gonna put all the signatures because I know where all the parties are, go or where they're supposed to sign. So then you upload the PDF and then you have to drag the signature boxes where the seller's gonna sign. So let me see if there's a PDF somewhere on this computer. There's a lot of PDFs there. Let's see. I'll just do this one here. So, okay. Let's go back. There's a couple different ways I can add it. I can add it from the document section. From here. So let's say I want to add a document. You guys see this right here? Add a document. Browse this, the computer for the document. And select it. I don't know if it's going to allow me to use it because it's locked, but we'll see. Click on this document. You notice it's a PDF, right? It's different from the Zipforms file. Okay, it opens up, good. Now I want to send it for signature, so I'm going to click on e-sign. It already knows what it is based on the title or the name of the file.
So, underneath the PDF, something we need to change, like they were.
You cannot change it.
We cannot.
No,
Either.
that's important that you do not change anything. You can counter something. You can write an addendum to change something in the contract, but you cannot change the contract itself. Right. So now you're gonna see that I'm gonna add participants, the first thing we do, right? From the transaction, I'm gonna add, in this case, the buyer. Add myself to sign. Let's see if it's smart enough to find where everybody's supposed to sign. I'm just gonna close this. Okay, so now when I scroll down. It doesn't know where the buyer's gonna sign. It's a PDF, so I have to initiate or drag everything over. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on Tools. Select the buyer. Click on Sign here and drag it over to where. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. This form is already filled out. It has somebody else's name on it, but pretend that it says Nate Miller there. And then, yeah, why did I do that? Okay, and then I'm gonna click on my name, then drag my signature box over to sign. And scroll down. Go through every page to make sure that you add a signature box where it's required. So down here, signer, oops, sorry, tools. Select the buyer. Click on sign here, drag it over. And go to the next page. So here, the buyer. Change the name to me. Drop it down there to where I'm supposed to sign. You guys get it, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna go through every form, make sure that you go through every single form, so you don't miss anything, because if you miss it, you're gonna have to resend it. You don't wanna do that, and you're gonna submit it, and you're gonna look silly, because the other agent's gonna say, hey, you missed the signatures, and you don't wanna do that. So, let's say that there's a counteroffer or something that needs to be checked, right, for your client to check. So, for instance, when an agent sends you over an offer, and you're gonna submit a counteroffer, on the last page of the purchase contract, where the seller signs accepting the contract or not, there's also a line with a checkbox that says that there's a counteroffer involved. So if you want to add a checkbox or an X on it, the way I do it, I'm not sure that if there's a better way or not, probably is. I go to tools and I go down to text box. Click on text box and then just click somewhere here. And I just type a capital X. Make it smaller here. And I just move that X wherever I need it. So if the checkbox is next to C, I just put the checkbox in. And that way it's part of it now. You don't have to if you add like a radio button or a checkbox, that requires the signer to check the box. But we're not requiring the signer to check the box. We're checking it for them so they don't have to. Also, if they send you over an offer, it only has their client's, right? And they don't know what the seller's name is for some reason. What you can do is, when you upload the PDF, and pretend this is a purchase contract and it doesn't have, let's say this line 2 doesn't have a name, right? And it's supposed to be the seller signing it. What you do is you select, let's say Nate Miller is the seller. Click on full name, drag it over, drop it in, and then sign here. Drag the signature box over. Instead of having to type the name in, it's already set up for you. And the initial boxes, if there's let's see, I guess it doesn't have initials here. It's pretty cool, right?
Right.
Any questions on this?
I have a question. So what happens if you're working with, let's say, an older client, and say, I don't want to do that, I want to sign a piece of paper. Can we fill this whole thing in and then just print it off and
Yes.
just sign?
Yes. You can fill it out ahead of time, maybe take your laptop there, print it out. I don't know if they have a printer at home. You can print out a blank contract and then fill it out there with them. Or fill out some of it and then fill the rest out there and have them sign it.
I mean, I realise this is much better.
Yeah.
But there's going to come an occasion. I'm thinking particularly about this elderly couple. I'm hoping.
Yeah, we have an agent that it was Sonia, she got her first listing.
All right.
And the seller, she doesn't want to do e-signatures or anything like that, so for the seller's disclosure, she came in and she was answering all the questions here. And Sonia was going over the questions with her, explaining, what everything means. So.
Good. Okay, thanks.
Let's see. All right, so let's do a little test here. Is it okay if I call on you guys? Okay. I don't want to embarrass anybody.
Nice.
Okay, so Jane, if I'm going to create a new transaction, what do I click on?
Create new
Where?
on top.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And if it's a new purchase, what am I gonna select? Wait, Kathy,
New purchase.
if it's a
Okay,
purchase,
second one,
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, and then, what am I supposed to name it? Is there,
with no property, you don't know this is great.
you can name it whatever you want, as long as you can identify what it is, name it whatever you want, the property address or your client's name, right? All right, so in this case, let's do Kathy. Because you're my buyer. And then it's residential. And because we don't have a property that we're submitting an offer on yet, I don't have an address. Okay, so now. What should I do next? Based on this class, you can do it in whatever order you want, but based on this class, what do I click next? Jonathan?
Well, this is a buyer.
Buyer.
Yeah, but for any transaction, what's the next step?
Parties?
Yes. Who's involved, right? Who's your buyer?
Yeah.
Okay,
So that'll be the buyer and me as the agent, sorry.
yes, MJ. So if I'm representing a buyer, where do I click now to add a buyer? Okay. Buyer one. And then we're gonna, let's say MJ is the buyer. Okay, and then we're gonna add, so MJ's first name, last name, and email address, right? Make sure you have that in there. This thing doesn't go all the way down. And then also as a reminder, make sure that the company's DRE license number and your DRE license number are in here. So 01516164. Right, it's on the recording, so when you guys watch this later on, you can write that down. All right, and then, Jarway, what's next?
Documents.
Okay. And what do I do here?
Go to our forms on
Okay.
on the website and then
Wait, Jane, now if I'm representing the buyer, which form? I'm trying to go around. Which form do I select?
California residential.
Perfect, all right, cool. Make sure it shows up blue after you click it. If it's not blue, then add it to it. All right. And then if I'm gonna write up the contract, I click here. So let me fill some of this out and then I'll ask somebody else for the next step to sign. Do you guys think the signing part is a little harder or is it about the same? Anybody?
I'm not sure, so I think I might miss something along the way, so keep going out.
Main Street, Irvine. Okay, so I'm gonna save this now. Jonathan, if I want to sign, what do I do next? If I filled everything out and ready to go,
Prepare signing at the top right hand corner. So.
okay? Yes. Did I not save it?
Yeah.
I did save it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you said.
Yeah. So I saved it, right? Okay. So Kathy, what's next?
Next, add the part,
Okay, cool. And then?
and then from the transition.
Awesome. I love it. This is great. All right, so now I only added one party. So wait. Didn't I add MJ?
but you didn't have the email address.
Ah, okay, okay. I wonder if it's saved when I added her. Anyway, pretend that she's in there, right? We selected all the participants. And then what do I do next, Joey?
You check all these lines where the sign needed,
Yeah.
whether you have the boxes.
Yes,
One by one.
okay. And then I notice here, because I didn't select the buyer's initials not set up in there, but they would be in here, right? So then you go through and check everything. And then once everything's checked, what if, okay, Jane, what if a signature is missing on your signature box? Where do I go? Let's say there's a signature box missing, or initials, like right here, missing buyer initials. Where do I go to add buyer initials? Yes, that's a good guess. And then what do I click on? Initials. So first of all, we're gonna select the buyer, right? They're not in here right now, but we click on initials and drag it over. Drop it there. Okay? And then, once we've gone through everything, and same thing for signature, right? If it's missing a signature box, you're gonna move it over and drop it there. And if you wanna get rid of it, let's say you accidentally like did extra ones, like, oh no, because sometimes you click it and accidentally, you click on it, and there's a little trash can here, or you can hit delete down here. I like to do the little trash can, throw the trash away, right there.
Okay, can you go one more time the trust?
Yeah, so if I accidentally like add
Uh-huh,
a bunch of signature boxes here,
yes,
just click on it,
uh-huh,
and then the little trash can,
oh.
that's delete. Cause it's gonna happen. You're gonna accidentally drag one over, like,
Yes.
cause even if you just double click on here, it adds it. See, I just clicked it, I didn't drag it. So, delete. Okay, once I've gone through this whole thing, what do I do now? Jonathan,
Hit next.
okay,
I'll get rid of that first.
get rid of what?
It's all right, that it doesn't matter. I mean, the signing tools. You can-
No, it doesn't matter, yeah. So I click on next and then send, right? Yep. This is the first time I've actually done this where I asked everybody to participate, because usually everybody like looks like they get it. And then when we leave, they're like, I don't know, I didn't understand this part or this part, but it sounds like you guys got a good grasp on it, so. Um. Maria, anything?
The only thing that I do, which kind of makes it easier, once you guys know like what forms you need, you can
Templates.
actually create a template. And then you're not sitting there guessing if you have the right forms in your transaction. And so then when you create your new, let's say it's a purchase, then you enter in the data and then it'll ask you to add a template. And you can add like your buyer template, your listing template, your lease template. And it puts all the documents in there for you, and you don't have to one by one add them.
So did you guys see how,
Okay, so,
so thank you for that.
Yeah.
So you guys see how I went through and I was selecting the SPQ and the TDS and looked through everything
Yeah.
to add them? What she's saying is you can create a template. I thought that was gonna be a little more too advanced for them right now.
It is a little advanced, yeah.
So what you can do is go, actually, let's go back to transactions to the homepage. So like we're starting from the homepage. Click on templates, forms and checklists. And then we're gonna create new, I already have some in there, create new. Let's say it's for the listing because we wanna add all the seller's disclosures. So when you get the listing contract signed, you also have everything else ready to go to send to the seller to sign. So this is gonna be for listings, residential, and I'm gonna call this a seller, seller's disclosures. And do not automatically apply this. Says you can set it to automatically add all these forms when you create a new listing, or you can add them yourself after. I don't wanna automatically add it, but you can. So that when you create a new listing, it automatically comes up with all the forms. But I like to add it, so I'll show you how to do that. So I'm gonna click on save. And now I'm gonna start adding forms to it, so I'm gonna add TDS. Yes. Stop thinking. TDS. And go to Orange County Realtors, add the Orange County disclosures.
So you mean you add all the what you need, right?
Okay, everything that you're gonna need for the seller to sign for seller disclosures, okay? And then, once you add everything, you just leave it alone, right? And let me rename this, because I might already have one, it's called seller disclosures, then it's fine. Okay, so now, I'm gonna go to transactions. And remember I had 123 Main Street as the listing, I think that's the one for Sandy Jones. I go to documents. And let me remove everything from here, so select all. And where's delete?
Right.
Right there. So let's say I have a listing agreement in here, or listing agreement already in here, and then I want to add something from the templates. Apply template right here. You guys see that?
Mhm.
Apply template. And it's sellers, yeah, you might have it in there.
First one.
Okay, oh, I misspelled this, so good. All right, apply, and look, it just adds everything. I don't have to go through and select, each one individually, it's all there.
The only thing I don't know is if it updates when the forms get updated.
Yeah, so make sure, I think they changed that where it does, it didn't used to, but make sure that anytime there's a new form update, you guys go in here and delete the old one and add the new one. Because it'll keep the old one in there. So,
For templates, can the agent share the templates? For example, you create like, a listing kind of templates or like, buying templates.
so who do you want to share it with?
You mean you want someone else to do the work for you?
I'm just saying that, like, for example, someone who has more experience and then have a complete list, and then, for like, junior like, agents, and then you can say, okay, if I want to share these templates, which is I'm using for my buyers or my like, listing, and then I can share it.
So,
Let's say,
so
for our office,
so usually the seller disclosures is gonna be from the listing side. Because they're gonna have to send it to the seller to sign first before sending it to the buyer. So on the buy side, the things you're gonna need pretty much are gonna be the purchase contract, maybe a request for repairs, contingency removal, the final walkthrough, the verification of property condition.
In one of the classes, you give us a checklist.
There's a checklist, yeah.
There is a checklist, so you can go through it.
So in the transaction checklist class, we go through the checklist, transaction checklist, and it shows all the forms that are required to close the transaction. And I tell you who's gonna provide it. You're gonna get this from the listing side, or from the buyer side, or from escrow. So that way, when you're going through the transaction and you're missing something from the checklist, you know who to contact. Like, oh, I'm supposed to get this from the seller, let me call the listing agent. Right, or, oh, I'm missing the earnest money deposit receipt, let me get that from escrow. Or escrow instructions, or HOA docs, need to get this form from escrow. Yeah, so it just makes it easier that way for you. Yeah, but for buyers, I mean, it's minimal what you're gonna need, because you're gonna get everything else from the listing side. All right, any questions? Nothing? You guys are experts?
No, after the class, I always go through the recordings because I miss stuff.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm taking notes or doing something on the computer, I miss stuff.
Yeah.
So I go through it again anyway. So most of the questions I'll have will get answered when I go through it the second time and pay attention to the bits that I
Okay.
missed.
Yes,
Certainly not an expert.
Agent ID.
you don't have to enter that.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
just agent ID
Oh.
number.
One thing I wanted to show you guys is, the MLS Connect. That's a pretty cool feature. If you're representing a buyer, let's say we have an interest, is anybody logged into the MLS?
No, right now I can be.
Yeah, let me log in really quick. I wanted to show you guys, I need an MLS number. So when you know what property you're gonna submit an offer on, of course, right, you know. You can use the MLS ID for that property to pull in some of the information on the property to auto-populate Zipforms, the transaction. So let's say, let me look for something. So I want to submit an offer on this property here. So I go back to Zipforms. Here. Okay, I'm gonna create a purchase. And this is gonna be for Johnny.
Be good.
Be good. And if I click on MLS Connect, I can type in the MLS ID. And then I want to include the picture when I click on find. And it's gonna pull over the address and the AP number and all that stuff about the property. So I don't have to type that in. So then I click on use listing. And I'm gonna go down to save. Oh, sorry, residential. Save. And now, look at this, it filled everything out. So when I created, I guess add a new form to it, let me go. I'm gonna contradict what I said here. I'm not gonna go straight to parties, but that's what I suggest you guys do. I'm gonna go straight to the purchase contract. Make sure, if you don't find the form you're looking for, make sure you're selecting the correct form library at the top. Residential purchase, oh shit, wrong one, sorry. Oops. Delete. Delete. Okay. So now when you open up the purchase contract, it's already gonna have that property information in there. Let me show you. See, property address, the parcel number, the listing agent's name and brokerage. That's pretty cool, right? Okay. I almost forgot about showing you guys that. That's a pretty cool feature. So if you guys have any questions, you can always come by and ask me or email me, call me at the office.
Yes, so for this one, so the buyer's agent, the broker like number is still missing. Is there any way you can just set it, or you have to do it
I
every
don't know,
time?
because when I go, let me check, because when I go to settings. I know for other people it works, it's automatic in there, but for me it doesn't, it's like. I don't know. It might work for you guys.
And there's no broker.
Yeah, maybe on your, with you guys, it'll work. Cause here I'm using the broker edition, it's different. But regardless, just make sure you enter the DRA license number for the office. And, oh, we have people on Zoom. All right. Hey, Harriet.
Hi, Carlos. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, Sam, do you have any questions?
Not me.
I'm good.
You're an expert at this now, right? You've done it a few times.
Yeah, just to trash it all again, but it was good practice, good reps.
Okay, cool. All right, I'll see you guys next week.
Good job.
Thank you.